between both of these teams, they've always been sort of around the mid-tier of challenger teams. Napkins in Disguise very early on in the season were just coming out killing everyone, did great in MCS, EPS. They were just highly, just really great contenders, but have hit a little bit of a rough spot now. Looking to make a name for themselves, looking to come back in a few things. We're able to take out, most recently, Curse Academy, who's just been on a rampage. So starting to show some really strong signs of life, and with a very strong lineup tonight. Really interesting to see how they go up against ggLA.
ggLA had their burst onto the scene. They've been around before under a different name, but at the start of the NACL, they were just killing people left and right. However, they've had some roster swaps, they've had some stability issues. They've kind of resurged, they've hardened up, toughened up, and they're also looking to try and get back into this, try and make their name one more time as Bischu gets some harass onto Bischu mid lane. Very, very rude harass. It was a passive standoff mid, as is wont to happen. And when that happens, you know the rules. You're not supposed to do anything, just sit there, spam your laugh, taunt, or joke at whatever makes the most obnoxious sounds or has the funniest animation.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's more about sending a message than anything else. And Bischu definitely, you know, he might have taken a bullet to the head, but he also, you know, sent a message of one of stalwart, I don't know, sustain and vigilance. There we go, vigilance. Yeah, shout outs to NID's manager. But either way, we're gonna have Nubby versus Bischu in the mid lane. We will have a 2 versus 1. So mismatched lanes up in the top and bottom. And which way do you expect this to go? I mean, we're gonna have Cortez actually run around the jungle with Yazuki, or Yazuki with Cortez. Not the same situation for InnoX. He's just gonna run straight into lane. We actually are going to see Nydus run down, check out the blue buff, and actually maybe try to do some harass, as ScubaChris should look to be picking that up. Coming up next, and immediately InnoX is going to go down and share XP too, so pretty much the same situation.
All right, there's a lot of things that could happen. I do like InnoX moving down to the blue buff. It secures it, makes sure that we can't see some of the NydusHerMain shenanigans we've seen in the past, where he's like, hey, I'm a Sona, you're a short-range jungler, I'm just going to bully you away from your buff. I am more scared for the turret of ggLA because Lulu Caitlyn has incredible pushing potential. That is such a good push-oriented lane. It's a bit scarier though in the top side for InnoX to stay alive. He can kill Ashe, he can kill Sona if he has some backup, but just in a laning 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 situation, they get so many free auto attacks, and Sona has such strong harass just through her power cord and her Hymn of Valor that it's going to be a lot harder for Riven to stay alive. You'll see Nocturne's already up top side. They have to do more to protect Riven, while bot side is more about protecting the turret, because Shyvana will most likely not take much harass, but the turret will definitely be pushed down quickly.
Now, it's not like these 2v1 lanes are a mystery. There are a lot of wards that you can place down very early on to sort of figure out that they're going to happen. Why is it that Napkins in Disguise, knowing that they have the Riven that wants to play aggressively, why are they okay with this 2v1 studio? Because I'm sure if they wanted to, they could have seen this coming.
They could have, and they probably did, which is why they had a jungle route set up so that InnoX could get blue buff, and ScubaChris wouldn't fall too far behind. He'd still have really fast jungling with taking red buff on his own. And the way they set it up now, bot lanes being threatened. ScubaChris now going aggressively on a bobbyhankhill.
He's going in 1v2, and there's actually going to be the knock-up exhaust down, as well as barriers. So double summoners blown there, but it's the red buff applied to Nydus. We're not going to have the cooldown of Broken Wings up in time to get onto Nydus, so he's going to stay alive for now, but still, double summoners blown off of just walking up and starting to auto-attack.
That's a nice aggressive play. I like it. They weren't going for a kill. They weren't going for the all-out, all-in. That was not a full committal. They just decided, you know what, we can poke forward. Nocturne has a lot of move speed with Duskbringer and just higher base move speed than Ashe and Sona. And by moving forward aggressively like that, they burn summoners. And now if Nocturne goes for a kill later, once he hits level 6, for example, they're not going to have exhaust. They might not have barrier as well.
ScubaChris is camping this top lane ridiculously hard. Gonna get in there, spell shield, the flash in. It's gonna force the flash out there by Nydus, who will stay alive for now, but that's gonna be InnoX's flash down, and ScubaChris very low. I think his aggression in this top lane may finally have come to an end.
Mid lane, just a slugfest. 29 CS to 19 CS though. It looks like Bischu has taken control of the early game. Very, very scary for nubbypoohbear, because now Vladimir's just gonna have constant harass. If he goes for an early revolver, it's going to be really hard for nubbypoohbear to wear him down, even through spears, even through Cougar form, just because Bischu will have ridiculous Vladimir sustain.
All right, so I think the biggest thing to watch out for right now is going to be either the 2v2 in the bottom, which is has a lot of potential for aggression. Nobody level 6 just yet, but it's going to be up to... Hyolyn. There we go. Leave
Cut
Clarvu. My new favorite person right now. Hyolyn and XOL, which is actually Brunch, so neither one of these names as familiar as they actually are, so we'll have to keep our wits about us, studios. We attempt to, in vain, describe the way that the bottom lane's working.
It's a nice little naming situation. I do believe in the tower pushing that bottom turret already down to half HP. And think about how long Cortez has been bottom. He's just been sitting there, making sure that the Yazuki gets to level 5 and has a higher level burnout. This is actually a cool play now, because Yazuki, he can clear the creep wave relatively quickly. It's not instant clear, but very few champions could do that at this point. And now that bot turret it's not taking that much damage. Aggression in the mid lane though.
Yeah, just going in underneath the turret, not a lot of permanent damage, just saying, hey, you guys are going to stay in your turret, that's where we want you, and now it's going to be the double roam of ScubaChris and Nubby. Nubby's actually out of mana, does have that Doran's ring, but hasn't been back to base yet. He's going to look to push his wave, and it's actually going to be Bischu who's backing to base first, although he will stop, take spear, and probably clear out this wave. It's just a battle of wave clearing, with ScubaChris taking a little bit of attacks.
They're trying to pressure Bischu. They want Bischu to come back to lane later, which means he'll be coming into a pushed wave.
All right, yeah. So for the time being, we do have lanes swapped right back around. We're going to have solo lanes up in the top, and then we're going to have those duo lanes in the bottom. But with that first turret of the game down, it's going to be a much more pushed and possibly even frozen wave by bobbyhankhill if he does want to keep it that way for just a little bit longer.
With that bot turret down, the question is, do they rotate towards top lane? InnoX down to 1v1 with Yazuki. I think it's what both teams are looking for now, just because Dragons become such a visible threat. Both teams at this point could take it out very quickly, and they need to have the support of both the AD carry and support, rather than just one dude versus two. So this is going to be more of a normal laning situation with that turret being down bottom, but you can see bobbyhankhill and NydusHerMain have already started to kind of freeze the lane in the back. So in response, and this is a good decision for Napkins in disguise, they're going to push in mid lane, try and force Bischu to take a lot of harass. Like, this is how they go aggressively onto him now. If they're pushing aggressively, it's hard for Bischu to actually see us underneath the turret, even with his clear. And they can try and land spears, they can try and just poke him down, or they can just try and take out the turret quickly.
And Bischu, you can see that he's actually running Flash Ignite. He's not going for that Flash Ghost sort of split push. Vladimir does have a Hextech Revolver, and so we could see that same sort of item style where you go for the Spirited Spectral Wraith. But with nubbypoohbear getting in there, Bischu's going to be forced into an immediate pool. Ignite is down with a kick underneath the turret. Gets ScubaChris closer. Still has the Helo Plague there. Gets the shield from Lulu. Is it going to be enough? No! It's Bischu to take out ScubaChris with a 1-for-1 exchange.
Cortez sacrificing Bischu, saying, you know what, you guys can have him. I want to get the follow-up kill. It was an aggressive play, but unfortunately, he did knock Nocturne into range, and it looks like that was just enough from a follow-up auto attack from ScubaChris to take out Bischu. That mid turret being aggressive, though, it's being pushed heavily. A spear goes straight to NydusHerMain, now very, very low. Can't really do anything aggressive on his own, and has to just sit back and dodge spears. He's not going to stop any of this turret damage.
All right, something we also failed to comment on, but in the top lane, we had the aggressive all-in from both InnoX and Yazuki, and it was actually a lot more even than you'd expect. Usually, it's, Riven, as soon as you hit R, you get a huge advantage over whoever you're trying to 1v1, but with the extra defensive steroids and the skill advantage you get, arrow narrowly missing there in the mid lane. It's going to be the Flash, though, burned out by, who was it that flashed? Was it
nubbypoohbear.
nubbypoohbear. All right, so a little bit afraid there, and I'm not sure that bobbyhankhill warrants that much attention. It's about to have his own flash up, but with a dragon being started here, it's going to be ScubaChris getting in there with the damage responsible for the smite, and it's actually going to be ggLA not looking to trade any objective over for that. They're going to try to get this middle turret down, but it's full hit points, and NID are going to be there more than in enough time to defend it.
NID know that because they had a low HP Sona and that Bischu's ultimate isn't up, that ggLA could not fight. I mean, NydusHerMain could have shown up to the fight, would have had about 200 HP tops, and then all she could have done, because she doesn't have Crescendo yet, is toss out a heal, toss out a Hymn of Valor, and die. Not a lot of good options. So they're taking control of this part of the game. Bischu playing Vladimir, he's run into an issue. Vladimir takes a little while to scale up to be super relevant. Like, he doesn't need a whole lot of items, but he does need his base set. While Nidalee spears, they hurt early, they hurt fast. She's not one-shotting people yet, she's not taking them down to a third HP in one spear, but nubbypoohbear is taking people down relatively low at this point in the game already. So Bischu just needs to farm up. He needs to get more items. Going for early pushing, going for early objectives, it's difficult to do as Vladimir, just because you are not damaging enough. You're not relevant enough. Your cooldowns are a bit too long. Your tankiness isn't quite there.
I actually love the choice of going for a Vladimir and Sona. This is something you used to see back in the days when split push comps used to be very effective. The top lane, ScubaChris ulting in there on a Cortez. He's going to break the fear tether there and make it back to his turret. It's a 3-on-2 at the turret. Nox going to throw out a wind slash for a little bit of extra damage, but Yazuki down below half. Cortez is in there, but does not look like there's a minion wave strong enough to push down this top turret. Nubby coming in for a fast wave clear of his own. And it looks like NID looking to set up an early siege. Spear lands onto Nydus and will keep him relatively low. But like I said, I like the Vladimir Sona. It's double sustain, so you can take a spear and still stay there in that lane without having to leave, at least for now. Once Nubby gets on up towards Death Cap, Athene's Unholy Grail, it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, Bischu should be playing bodyguard. She's just secret servicing anybody on the
Arrow.
map. As Arrow going mid. Looks like
Not...
will be safe, though.
All right, so Whoosh is on by. Nydus is like, hey, that's a friendly arrow, so don't have to worry about that one. Apparently, just crystals can have friends, and they just, like, pass right over you, and you're like, hey, what's up? But no arrow to land, so that's going to be second crystalline arrow of the game taken away, and won't have anything from that. Nubby's down bottom to clear out the push from bobbyhankhill, who has been down there in the bottom lane farming things up there, has finally come back from the CS deficit. He was down like 15 or 20 CS early on, but has recouped that. NID will be able to take down this middle turret off of just a couple more auto attacks, but decent wave clear by Nydus and Bischu.
Brunchu has been farming up a storm in response to bobbyhankhill. bobbyhankhill, like you said, though, he's been contained down bot lane, while Brunchu has had to rely a bit more on the jungle and a bit more on just picking stuff while in someone else's lane. The result is mid turret's almost dead, though. Top turret down to about half HP. Just a lot of constant pushing, a lot of constant Caitlyn aggression. Napkins in disguise, because they're roaming around so much, they're trying to avoid that big 5v5 team fight. You mentioned Sona Vladimir, good for double sustain. It's incredible for team fight initiation, though, because you land a Sona ult, you land a Vladimir ult, you combine the two, it's a lot of damage, it's a lot of CC, and it's very, very bad to be in that situation. InnoX going aggressive bot lane, though.
He's going to go in onto Bischu, has the Ignite down. There's going to be the flash afterwards, immediately followed by a Nox. Bischu nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It's the wind slash to pick up the kill, and Nox wins out the 1v1.
Turns out the 1v1 can very casually just kind of ignore that Hemo Plague. Riven, very, very powerful versus Vladimir. It's a terrible, terrible 1v1 lane. Unless Vladimir gets ahead incredibly early on. So not surprising to see that translate to a very, very bad matchup in the 1v1 side lane, despite Bischu's transition from mid. Actually, Bischu cannot split push versus InnoX just because he's gone for Spectral Wraith, which is a great sustain. It's an incredibly efficient item on Vladimir. But it's terrible versus Riven at this point in the game because Riven just kills you. You don't have time for sustain. You don't have time to toss transfusion onto minions and just heal right back up because you're already dead. And if they want to go for split push, he's just going to keep getting punished.
I was just saying, exactly. There's the split push Vladimir build. There's also arrow to fly, not going to land onto anyone. So once again, 0 for 3 as far as arrows are concerned. Yeah, if you want to go split push Vladimir, you go for the extra sustain from the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. If you're playing like a mid lane AP Vladimir, then you definitely want to have something along the lines of a Zhonya's Hourglass first, which would coincidentally also give you a little bit of extra armor against Riven. But whereas Vladimir wants to sustain and harass in lane, Riven is all about the all-in. And you just saw how effective that was against Bischu, burned his pool, and then just finished him off afterwards. It's Brunch and Hyolyn up in the top lane, harassing Yazuki and Nydus down, but without a lot of support, it's going to be equal amounts of pressure mid. It's that middle turret for ggLA, down to 130 hit points.
They're running into the issue where bobbyhankhill isn't fighting off Caitlyn, and Brunchu is landing auto attacks when he needs to, constantly harassing. Yazuki and NydusHerMain can't hold the turret. They're just going to take a lot of harassing. Mid turret now falling. They need to rotate. They need to get the proper matchups going. Top turret now in a lot of danger. Should be going down relatively soon. As NydusHerMain, he does have his back interrupted, so now a low HP Sona without mana for Crescendo trying to defend that top turret.
And it's only 2-1 in kills, but there's actually the flash behind the turret. Hyolyn jumping in there is going to use the last bit of his mana for a giant growth. Won't get a whole lot out of that. Brunch is actually very low on mana as well. It's actually going to be the Nocturne ultimate to catch in onto Cortez. Will flash underneath his own turret, takes a Nidalee spear, but it's just not enough. Lives with 15 hit points, but I'm somewhat confused about the flash through the turret by Hyolyn. but you know what? I'm just going to give it to him. Nothing actually died with the exception of Bischu, who once again did lose out on a little bit of bad positioning. Got kind of flanked there on his way to the turret.
I think NydusHerMain might be going down. That's a pretty secure kill. The objective was, if a Glitter Lance had landed, that would have been a kill. And he just missed the Glitter Lance follow-up, which it happens sometimes. It's not an impossible skill shot to miss, despite the fact that it is relatively easy to set up if you do land the health picks, but it still can be due.
All right, so for right now, it's top turret going to go down bottom. You have a nice split push there by InnoX that has taken the turret down way below half. bobbyhankhill been the one to split, and we'll probably not be able to go back to that lane just because InnoX ridiculously strong, especially against AD carries. And while there's some CC from Enchanted Crystalline Air and a permanent slow from Frost Shot, it's going to be InnoX versus Yazuki for right now. And Yazuki, Sunfire Cape complete. I'm not sure InnoX can out-trade that.
It's going to be a little bit scary for him. He's also down to about 3/4 HP, so you can take a bit of a beating, and it may not end well for him. At the same time, how much money does InnoX have to spend? Has about 1,700, so he just needs to go back by himself. Dragon being taken by ggLA. I like this. They need to make something aggressive happen as a team. They need a 5v5 team fight because their team cannot handle the split push. They cannot handle the pressure of just staying in lane. So if they can go for objectives, maybe even go for a turret after this, they can try and turn the game around. Even though they're behind by 6k, they've got Sona, they've got Ashe Ultimate, they've got Bischu with that Hemo Plague. They need to group up. They need to do something as a team because the split pushing, man, it's just killing them. It's killing them left and right.
And I really like that choice, or the way that ggLA went and did that dragon. They were like, hey, we're doing this. We're not going to like walk around it. We're not going to try to set up ward coverage. We're just going to go in, take the objective, and leave. Because the longer they stayed around there, the more they set themselves up for either bad positioning, for Hyolyn to get caught out there, for spears to start to land. They just went in, did the objective, and left. So very, very decisive play there by ggLA, and that does even up the dragons at 1-1, but the gold count very far from even at about a 4,500 gold difference just off of CS and a 4-turret lead in favor of NID.
NID's options at this point are to force that team fight or to try and catch someone with the Ashe ultimate. The problem is most people on NID aren't going to go down in a 1v1. Brunchu would probably go down if an Ashe ultimate landed on him right now. But InnoX won't die. He is tanky enough because of the shield from Riven. ScubaChris, of course, has his own shield. nubbypoohbear is just so mobile. They need to have an Ashe ultimate land in a 2v1, which is still a lot of committal. It's a lot of people
Bobby
grouped up in one area.
Bobby passed right over a ward. I'm surprised we didn't see the immediate jump into there. There's going to be a ward into the bush, and there we go. Finally clearing it out. It's going to be Hyolyn walking straight into a Sonic Wave there from Cortez. We'll scout out both him and ScubaChris. Split push continues. InnoX now with a Tiamat completed. They look for a Ravenous Hydra. I like the choice to get the Brutalizer first, just because it gave him additional trade potential before Yazuki had that Sunfire Cape, but now realizing that Yazuki's starting to tank up just a little bit too much, goes for fighting minions instead of champions, and has been able to split push very effectively. 2 turrets down in top lane, bottom turret with only a couple hundred HP left, and will finally take the last auto attack from a minion to make it 5-0 in turrets for NID.
As Brunchu just casually sitting back, harassing, doing what he can. The Brutalizer build is solid, especially in 1v2s. Actually, Spear lands on the Cortez, takes him down to about 2/3 HP as Hyolyn just going aggressive, gets a little bit of damage. Nothing too big, nothing too severe, but just some more pressure. But the Brutalizer build is solid in the sense that ScubaChris, InnoX did not have that much gold early on because of the 1v2, and it was a fast item to get him relevant quickly. Normally, you would want Tiamat, Bloodthirst, or a big ol' aggressive, I'm gonna win the lane item. Actually, initiation on a Brunchu.
Alright, this is going to be a Hemo Plague right on top of Brunch in the back, but he also got the giant growth to keep him alive, keep him high up in that HP department. It's going to be Spears continuing to land, and a great disengage. That was absolutely everything but the kitchen sink. It was Asher, it was Soda Crescendo, it was Hemo Plague, it was Dragon's Rage, everything but the Dragon's Descent there from Yazuki, and just look at NID. They backed off, they disengaged, they don't actually care about all of that damage because not only did they have the wild growth to stop the burst damage onto Brunch, but then they now have Nidalee heals to keep ScubaChris in there, and InnoX has been split pushing this entire time and has forced Yazuki back to base on his own.
I mean, the 1200 or so HP that Brunchu got from his barrier, the shield, the heal, and the giant growth was nice and all, but he also used the 90 caliber net in the wrong direction. He actually went into the enemy team, but it didn't matter so much because there's so much good defense. from Napkins in Disguise. That could have been on purpose. Like, in a sense, you're right. They blew everything on him. And the one thing missing was a Dragon's Descent, but Yazuki can't use that against a Lulu. A Lulu can respond to a Dragon's Descent with her ultimate. It interrupts it, leaves Yazuki in a bad position, and it can really just completely hinder him in a team fight. So that's where that Lulu picks come in. I was actually wondering, like, the Lulu's been useful, but what's the specific use? Why the specific game? It's the counter for Shyvana. Use Wild Growth to stop the ultimate. That's actually really cool. But because Yazuki can't go in until he sees Wild Growth go on, and once Wild Growth had gone off onto Bischu, it was clear he was going to survive. It's really hindering the team. They can't do anything. I love this play from Napkins in Disguise. They won the pick game so ridiculously hard, and they're not letting any pressure fall from ggLA.
All right, now both teams just went back to base to buy. Nobody over like 200 gold in their inventory, with the exception of like Yazuki's up at like 600, and same thing for nubbypoohbear. But the big items starting to come out. You're gonna see Infinity Edges on both AD carries with almost a Phantom Dancer already for Brunch, and with a Mana Manipulator in the inventory for Hyolyn. He's gonna be channeling his inner Lemon Nation there, and we'll see how that one pays off. But I like that because it's going to give both Nidalee and Caitlyn the mana that they need for these extended sieges, and I think that could be really, really good for just keeping them not only just sustained up mana-wise, but also just giving them the duration that they need to stay there to poke things out. Bottom lane has been Brunch farming all the way down there, but realizes that, hey, Baron's a big deal. It's going to get dewarded right now. That will pull some additional attention up there for ggLA. And NID very far ahead as far as turrets and kills are concerned. The gold count sitting at around 9,000 right now, so don't want to see it get any much higher than that. And for ggLA, they really haven't. I mean, you have a 0-0-0 score for Yazuki. It's a 0-0-1 for Corkez. They really haven't been involved in all that much, and primarily it's been the focus on the Bischu, has been wound up dying 3 times already.
I mean, they have been playing a split push game over on Napkins in Disguise, so it's hard for them to commit to a fight. However, they're not committing to champions so much, they are committing to the turrets and the objectives. So just go for the auto attacks on turrets, just go for that pressure. They don't need to kill Bischu. They don't need to take out NydusHerMain. Actually, initiation on a ScubaChris. He blocks it though.
Shield. It's not. ScubaChris starts things out by spell shielding the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Dragon's Rage kick ScubaChris back away. Fear goes out on Nydus. Crescendo lands on Chris, but is forced to disengage. Can they get it? And time is going to be Yazuki knocking ScubaChris away, but Giant Growth keeps him alive. InnoX can't find the knockup, but does get the Wind Slash. The Ignite ticking will take out Corkez. Bischu already down. Spears to fly. One more auto attack, and it's going to be bobbyhankhill going down. And a great engagement there, starting out with ScubaChris's excellent spell shield. A bobbyhankhill's initiate, and not just straight up GG's coming out. It's 7-1, and in probably the most anticlimactic 23-minute game we've ever seen, a perfect turret score. I guess the best fights are the ones you don't have to fight, Studio.
I mean, it was fantastic play from Napkins in Disguise. They controlled the game. They controlled the pressure. That last fight, that was a desperation move. It's like, all right, ScubaChris off to the side. If we can catch him off, maybe we can do something. But the chase, that was such a solid chase from Napkins in Disguise. They got Sona to blow her ultimate just defensively. It didn't stop InnoX. It didn't stop nubbypoohbear, I believe. They got Corkez to blow his own ultimate, the Lee Sin kick, right away as well. So all the defensive ultimates, all of the teamfight ultimates were already being used in the fight. So what did that leave open once Bischu was being initiated on? Once bobbyhankhill had already ulted, there was nothing. They had nothing to protect bobbyhankhill. They had nothing to protect Bischu, and just a wave of force. A wave of high damage Riven, Lulu, Caitlyn, Nidalee Spears, Nocturne just coming at ggLA to finish them off. It was very well played, and ggLA, they were not going to come back from that. Those were really good picks from Napkins in Disguise once they got to the laning focus game. And if they couldn't transition out of it, if ggLA could not stop the laning, they were not going to win.
You know, it was a very solid, very slow push kind of game, like you said, focusing on objectives instead of turrets. And they really honestly didn't fight all that much. It was more just, hey, we're going to blow all the ultimates from ggLA, and then we're just going to push them in without actually trying to kill the champions. They just methodically push down turrets and wound up winning the game off of a surrender at 23 minutes without actually having won a team fight all that solidly. I mean, they killed off 2 members of ggLA, but it was just a little bit too much to handle, and that will give Napkins in Disguise their 2nd win in a row in NACL. So nice to see them on the upswing. ggLA still have a lot of work to get done with bobbyhankhill in place of Otter. So if Otter is watching somewhere out there, everybody loves the Otter. So our hopes are with Otter and the rest of his team to bring it back in next week. But before we get there, we're going to have to get through this one. Coming up next, it's going to be Velocity Esports taking on Team Curse for our second game of the night.